Alright, this is the instructional video that I promised you regarding PRP 7, which I have written up right over here, the instructions, and the mini research project, which I have written up over here, that I will talk about in just a second. Alright, I want to remind you that PRP 7 and the mini research project are connected together. The assignments are connected. I'll start with PRP 7 to talk about it, and then I'll move into the mini research project. Alright, so here we go. PRP 7 has 3 distinct parts to it. Wait, I need to get my pointer. It has 3 distinct, wait a minute. It has 3 distinct parts to it. Part number 1 is you must find 2 significant objections to the Christian faith within your major or your discipline. Now, what I mean by that is this final research project is an attempt at interdisciplinary research connected to Christian faith and proclamation. Now, I recognize that not everybody cares about apologetics, and I also recognize that it's possible that not everybody in the class is Christian or cares. I need you to think of this assignment as an assignment of critical thinking and critical and active learning to put oneself in the position of an apologist and a Christian. So think of it in that way. Even if you don't want to personally invest yourself in this particular calling, or even in the answers because you aren't a Christian. Think of it as an academic discipline. It is something that you are required to do to put yourself into the position of that person who would call themselves a Christian, within your major or your discipline, and how that Christian might answer some common objections to the Christian faith from within that major. Now, I recognize that some of you might have a major where there aren't, like if your major is church music, it's probably not going to find objections to the Christian faith, so you might have to move back from your major into a more general notion of your discipline. So maybe you move from major in church music to the discipline of music or recording or something like that. Or if you are an intercultural studies major, maybe you move back to see if you can find some criticisms from culture critics or even anthropologists. So you have to find these objections. So you're going to have to do a little bit of reading within the discipline to find out what are the major objections and what do people who work in that discipline who are Christians have to account for. So the first part is simply finding 2 significant objections to the Christian faith within that major discipline. The second part, and you're going to talk about those in a sentence, right? Objection number 1. What's the sentence? Objection number 1 to the Christian faith within my major or discipline has to do with. And then the second part, I want you to write a paragraph wherein you do a process narrative, by which I mean you just tell the story of how you found these 2 significant objections. We want to see what is the process you went to find them. Now, this process may be going to atheistmanifesto.org, a blog site, to see what people might say within your discipline about Christianity. This is fine. You just need to find the 2 objections. And you need to tell us how you do that. Maybe you start by going and talking to one of your professors. You say to your professor in your major, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. It's an interdisciplinary apologetic mini research project for that guy named Jenkins who has a lightsaber pointer. And you say, can you give me some starting points? Maybe something to read. Maybe a person to look at to try to find out what some of these objections are. Just a paragraph, okay? Make sure that's single-spaced. A paragraph is probably somewhere, a good paragraph is somewhere between 7 and 9 sentences. Then the third part of PRP 7 will be you will find, after you get these and you tell me how you got those, then you will offer 5 sources that you will use to help you answer the objections to the Christian faith from within your major or discipline. So let me say this again. After you find the objections, you just go do some rudimentary research to find out who might be able to help you answer those objections. These 5 sources must be peer-reviewed. They have to be books, they have to be journal articles, something like that. While you can go to blog sites or websites to get these, and you talk about what website you went to here, you cannot use websites here. You can use electronic databases. You can use articles and essays from those electronic databases from the library, because those are peer-reviewed. But you cannot use blog sites. You cannot use internet sites. All right? Those 5 sources you must properly format as a kind of a bibliography, which means last name, then first name, then italicized title, quotation marks if it's a journal article, whatever your major uses as its bibliography style. APA, MLA, Turabian, Chicago Manual. You use whatever style is mandated by your discipline, just use it consistently. 5 of them. All right? 5 of them. These are not sources that support your significant objections. They are sources that you will use to help you answer the significant objections. That's PRP 7. Right? That's what's due on the final day of class. Now, the final mini research project takes the work that you did here in PRP 7 and utilizes it to get the ball rolling for the mini research project. So, here we go. The 2 objections that you researched and that you told us about in the process narrative become that which you answer in your mini research project. But in order to answer it, you can't just talk off the top of your head. You've got to have some kind of data, some research data. You found these 5 sources right here, so what you're going to do in your mini research project, it is 3 pages long. The first 2 pages have to deal with an annotated bibliography. And by that, I mean you take these 5 sources that you've found that you're going to use to help you answer the objections, and in the first 2 pages, you do a 120-word minimum summary of these sources' arguments, or the ideas that are there. Each one of these little bracket things is an entry, an annotated bibliography entry. It should start with the citation of the source that you're using. Right here, you're doing cutting and pasting. The 5 sources here, you take them in their proper formatting and you put them into the first 2 pages. In alphabetical order, last name, first name of your first source. There it goes. That's what those lines represent. And then 120 words. Look, you have to have a minimum of 120 words. You don't have to hit 120 words. You just simply have to have a minimum. I want you to understand something. Every one of your preceptors will count each word. If there's not 120, at least, you get no credit for that entry. All right? All right, this is not a threat. We just need to make sure that everybody is doing the same amount of required work per entry in order to get credit. Okay. Each entry is worth 10 points. You get no points if it's 119 or less. You can get up to 10 points for 120 or more. It'll be based upon your grammar, how clear you are in summarizing the ideas and content, that kind of stuff. Your first 2 pages, summary. Now look, I know you're saying, my God, this guy wants me to read 5 books. No, I don't. What I want you to do, think of this as it is a mini research project because you're doing preliminary Scantron kind of reading. You're skimming through, you're getting the ideas and arguments, and then you will focus in on ideas that will become most important for you in order to help you to answer these significant objections. All right. First 2 pages are annotated bibliography, annotations, 120-word minimum summaries of these 5 sources that you found to help you meet these significant objections within your major and discipline. The final page, page 3, are your answers to the objections. So these 2 objections get brought over to page 3, objection number 1, and then your answer. It must be 11-point font, single-spaced, Times New Roman. All right, I know that all of us have our own special formats and fonts that we like. I'm telling you, 0.75 margins all around, 11-point font, Times New Roman, single-spaced. 3 pages, single-spaced, 11-point font, 0.75 margins all around, and Times New Roman. I didn't write that up. Times New Roman. Objection number 1, your answer. Now, what is your answer going to be based off of? Certainly it's going to be based off of some of the things that you learned in class, some of the things you might have read in class, some of your own ideas and opinions, but it also must have in it the ideas that you gleaned from your research. You do not do any quotations at all. Nothing. I don't want you cutting and pasting from here and putting it into here. There's no citation, there's no endnotes, there's no parenthetical citations here. All of the information that you get from your sources and your summary will be right here written out in your 120-word minimum bibliography. I don't want you to worry about citing anything here. I want you to worry about just taking all of the ideas from class, from your own personal life of faith, from your own disciplines and piety, from your own research, melding and integrating them all together into a coherent answer to that objection. All right? Now listen, it has to be minimum 11-point font. If you decide that you're having so much fun that you want to do 10-point font because you want to do a little bit more comprehensive answering, that's fine with you. It can be 10-point font, it just can't be more than 11. Objection 1, objection 2, your answer to both, and that's your mini research project. So PRP 7 and the mini research project are connected in terms of the work is for a single purpose, and that is from within your major or within your discipline, what are the objections? How can you find sources that will help you with those objections? This is your summary of those sources, their ideas and concepts, and then this is your utilization of those concepts and ideas to help you answer the significant objections. Okay? This is due on the Monday after Thanksgiving. That's the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. That's the last class. That's when this is due. This is due on the Sunday between exams. Our exam is in the first 2 days. This is not due until Sunday by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday night. Your preceptors will make drop boxes so that you will drop this in electronically into the drop box. It cannot be later than 11:59. The drop box will close at 12 a.m. You will not be able to submit it. There are no late paper submissions. 11:59 on the Sunday between exam days. All right? I don't know what date it is. I'm sorry. We'll write it up when these instructions get posted. All right? PRP 7, mini research project. All right.